Some of the Catholic Church's long-held secrets of child rape and abuse in Ireland are coming to light. A government commission there has released a 2,600-page report that details horrific reports of abuse from former students sent to more than 250 church-run institutions.
This inquiry vindicates what victims had said. It mentions where children were raped and brutally abused, and victims will feel vindicated by that.
In perhaps the most damning finding, the report concluded church officials always shielded their order's pedophiles from arrest to protect their own reputations and knew that many pedophiles were serial attackers. It also states the church created a climate of fear and that children were treated more like prison inmates and slaves.
We have a long, long way to go to make reparation for church in general.
Still, many say this report is not going far enough. Alleged victims and others complaining that none of the abusers were identified by name. Some are also rejecting the church's apologies and are demanding more answers.
Most of the manuscripts we have are not anywhere near this early, though. We start getting scripts at the beginning of the 3rd century, around the year 200, 150, 170 years after Jesus' death. These are about 120 years after most of these books had been written. And we don't start getting numerous manuscripts until the 7th, 8th, or 9th century. And then we start getting lots of them, because then you've got monasteries where monks are spending their days copying manuscripts. And we have a lot of their manuscripts. And so 5,700 manuscripts, some of them going back into the 2nd century, none of them being the originals or within even within a few years of the originals. So with all of these differences, with all of these manuscripts, how many differences are there? Throughout the Middle Ages, it appears that the scholars didn't realize that there was a problem of not having the original text, or very few scholars realized that this was a problem. Even the scribes copying the text, they sometimes would realize they were at Oxford. I think he's unrelated to the Victorian John Stuart Mill. John Mill was a scholar of the Bible, and he had spent 30 years looking at manuscripts of the New Testament. Started realizing that this was an issue. Well, John Mill wanted to produce a printed edition of the Greek, printed up his edition of the Greek New Testament, in which he'd give a verse, and then at the bottom of the page he would indicate the places where the manuscripts differed from one another. Many of his readers, when John Mill produced his edition of the Greek New Testament, it included an apparatus at the bottom of the page that cited 30,000 places where the manuscripts differed from one another. 30